Is it okay? Is it okay? Okay, let's get started. Today we're going to talk about how to build hybrid mobile application. And it's fine because we're going to show you how to do it in minutes, which is perfect because we are running a bit over time.
So basically, we will build a mobile web app with a backend in Groovy Rails. We have an article about this presentation in the Groovy Mag, where we describe the plugin we use. So the goal is to have a mobile web app using jQuery Mobile and PhoneGap for the client part, and the backend will be on Groovy Rails. But first, let me present Corinne. So she's over 15 years of experience in IT, passionate about it. She will never leave a problem without a solution, can't go very far away from the code always. And, but she is also Athos for our Three Musketeer team for jQuery mobile plugin development team. She has two lovely kids and a lovely geek husband.
Thank you. Let me introduce you to a guy who's got 25 bright ideas, who is Mr. Clean at work during our time, but is most of the time also called Porthos for the Three Musketeer team, who is a guy who shares with me his passion for open source development. And let me introduce you to a guy so smart that I marry him. Fabrice. Okay, so next slide. Who in the room is familiar with Groovy and Rails? Oh, that's pretty good actually. But I think I still need to do a quick introduction. So Rails is a Java and Groovy web framework. It is the JVM platform for for domain-driven development. It's based upon Spring IOC and Spring MVM framework. It's actually powered by VMware, formerly called Spring Source. The technical project leader is Graham Rocher. One of the power of Rails is this GORM, the Grail object rational mapping. As I said, it's a domain-driven platform. And the other power is the scaffolding. And actually, we're going to talk about scaffolding, because that's the way we're going to be able to have a mobile web app in a minute. So, difficult to talk about Rails without a quick word on Groovy. What is Groovy? I don't know if you can see the code. This is a first object written in Java, and the same object written in Groovy. The key feature of Groovy is it's based on the same JVM than Java. So that's one of the things that really make Groovy popular. For example, at work, it's one of the reasons we use it on the server-side scripting team. But it goes beyond just being single sugar syntax. It's also for a powerful meta-object programming language. And it goes with a closure. For example, in this piece of code, this is a way you would write a class in Java, and this is a way you would write the same class in Groovy. Notice that you don't need any semicolon, you don't need any getter setter, all that can go away, and you keep focus on the core of your object. Also, a piece of code I didn't have time to write here was how you iterate through an array. See how easy it is in Groovy. overall, I think if you like JavaScript, you will love Groovy for sure. So Fabrice, tell me about the Three Musketeers. Who those guys are?
So we are 3 people working on evening about open source development. We try to build basically a plugin for web development, mobile development. Grails has around 860 plugins available. The best one will be that one, you can guess, it's ours. So Grails mobile development. The goal of this plugin is to basically have a single HTML page, JavaScript and jQuery mobile scaffold for your domain-driven object. One of the things about mobile app challenges are, first of all, you need content negotiation. So we have a Grails plugin also, Spring Mobile, which allows us to know if you are on a mobile or a normal application. Responsive UI and progressive enhancements are really good with jQuery mobile. One of the things is jQuery mobile, as this is downgrading depending on the browser use, so it works on many platforms. Also, the mobile connectivity can be pretty bad. You can lose your connection, so you should be able to use your mobile web apps also offline and have some kind of synchronization when you go back online. You can use also some of the features of your own phone, accessing that with PhoneGap. So we included all of that in our, we try to include all of that in our plugin. So
Fabrice, give me an example of an application that we can use, you know, geolocation, where we can have a cool thing and you know, social network things, you know, this kind of application like 3 circle, 5 rectangles, you know, the application. Yeah. Let's call the application Tag My Friend, because I want to tag my friend everywhere I go. So we're going to start with idea. It's a nice environment to develop with Grails, actually. It's all very well embedded. So here it's a blank page, it's a blank project, and we're going to start from scratch, creating or... if you want, yeah. Okay. So we're going to try to do, as I say, Tag My Friend application, where we're going to define a first class, friends, with some attribute. As I said earlier, Grails is a domain-driven platform, so you always start with a domain class. So you start writing your domain class, you put the attribute in, and then you scaffold in a minute.
Il veut pas ouvrir.
Il veut pas?
Ah. So let's create a new module. In
IDEA. You can use IDEA to create your application, or you can do it on the console if you don't want to use any IDEA. You just do a Grails create app tag my friend and the name of your application, actually. So here we're going to create a module. So we're going to create a module called Tag My Friends. Okay. So now you use the command line.
So basically it creates a whole...
It scaffolds an empty project for you. And if you go to the Grails view, I think it's better to go to the Grails view to give you really the feeling of the important folder in Grails. You can then call the command line.
Yes.
Option G.
Non mais on va créer So let's create a domain class.
And let's create friend. So you have two options. Either you are very verbose and you can create domain class friend. Maybe the package name, no, it's not required actually, yeah, you're right. Or you have the shortcut. You could say CDC, or a script name can be called by shortcut, so it's very quick when you go on the command line. So here we've just scaffolding a first time, and here it is, a first class, empty. So, what are we going to add, Fabrice, in our friend class? Maybe, I would say, yeah, a first name and a last name. So here it's Groovy syntax. In Groovy, you don't necessarily need to put the type, but for Grails, obviously you need to put the type, so you know how to scaffold what kind of field you want. If it's a boolean, it will be a radio box. If it's a string, it will be an input box. So let's add a registration date, for example, so we can see the nice date picker. Okay, and that's it. Now,
so from there, we want to really scaffold a mobile web app for this friend class. So first of all, we have to add our plugin.
yes.
So
you go to the build config.
Yeah.
And you're going to add a dependency. It's a compile time dependency because it's a scaffolding plugin. And the name of our plugin is HTML5 mobile scaffolding. And then you have the version 044. And then you just run the command. Are you quick, Fabrice? You already run the command?
So we have a bad internet connection because basically it will grab the plugin from the plugin repository in Grails, get the plugin.
But if the worst comes to the worst, we've got it locally from GitHub. So you've got two options. Either take it from Grails Central or from the repository. If it's too bad, we do the plugin dependency via file system, I think, no? What do you think?
Okay.
Yes, Fabrice says sometimes, you need to work offline.
So
let's add it as a folder dependency. So Grails, plugin, location, and great idea who's doing all the autocomplete. And then you put the name of the plugin, HTML5, mobile scaffolding. And we're going to put the physical path or where to find the plugin. Okay, so we're sure we've got the latest version then. And that's it. Cool. So IDEA is refreshing all the dependency because this plugin is actually adding a new script command that we wrote, and the name of the script command will be HTML generate or HTML generate controller or HTML generate view, because you've got different options. Okay, so we start generating both controller and the view. Remember that in Grails it's based on the MVC pattern. So so you've got the model and the controller server side and the view, which is Groovy server pages usually. But with our plugin, we replace JSP by HTML and JavaScript. So here we are running the command.
some fun there. We have scaffold our first. No. Didn't work.
Okay, we're doing a bit of run-up so that it'll refresh the dependency. Okay, so okay, maybe it's not the latest version.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, walking offline is not that. Okay, let's start. We've got a backup. It's always good to have a backup.
So
doing live coding.
Here, basically, it will generate our JavaScript here. What will be generated from there will be the view associated for the JavaScript part. So it's an HTML5 plugin, single page. The goal is to put the default function, create, read, update, delete, and list your domain objects. So from there, you can run your application. And I'm not lucky today.
Is it started? Not yet?
What's happening? I'm really sorry. Je sais pas où c'est, Corinne. Tu l'as mis où?
Je l'avais mis dans... Sorry about that. I put it in sublime text. Sorry about that.
So Corinne tried to trick me by adding wrong classes.
Sorry. Okay. Let's see, so
okay. Voilà. Là, ça merde grave.
Delete tout ce qu'il y a dans le file. Ok.
Non, je sais pas où c'est. Je sais pas ce que c'est.
Pourquoi tu voulais pas continuer from scratch?
Mais parce que ça marchait pas.
Ok, delete.
Good.
Running. Sorry, I think we messed up a bit the test environment. Okay.
So basically, we have our first jQuery mobile application here, and it did scaffold for you your domain object, and from there you can add your first friend. So here,
one of the other musketeers who is not here today, Sebastian.
And you save it, and you have the data here. So one of the important things also with mobile application, as we said before, is that to be able to work offline. So we simulate that with Firefox. And what we are doing here will be to work on those objects. Let's say we modify because it's the right name. We save them. So here we change the color, but it's to show that basically we are working with local storage where we save all the domain objects. And when we go back online, we will synchronize with our database. What will happen is that it will come back and be synchronized with our database.
Okay, can you do more options like delete and then update and create, maybe?
So all the CRUD operations are supported offline. So because he's not there, I delete him twice. And you can see, so what I will do is refresh my page, get back the data from the server, and we see that there is only one object there. So if we go back to the slide, for that.
So as I said earlier, in Grails, it's MVC, and the V part usually is done server-side. It's done with the server-side templating. You can easily add your own tags and all that, and that's good stuff. But when it comes to mobile application, what you really want to do is write plain HTML and JavaScript, and that's what our plugin is doing. In order to have a clean separation of concern, we introduce the MVC on the client side too. So we keep the generation from the domain, and it will generate the same thing on the client side. So the view get notified of a change. It notifies the controller. The controller go to fetch the data and call the feed class. And as we saw, it's an abstraction layer so that you can feed either online or offline. When it's offline, we go fetch the data from the local storage.
So once we go online again, the sync manager will send back the data with AJAX also, and the controller will be notified, also the view. So if we go back to our project, we can also create some other kind of domain classes. I will just show the example.
Let's create the place and add some geolocation. We do the same idea of convention over configuration. If you want to add geolocation, you just add two attributes, latitude and longitude. As always in Grails, it's always possible to configure. So if you want to change latitude and longitude, you go to the build config and add your own attribute name. And I will say to the scaffolding that he wants to scaffold the map service. So can we...
So internally we are using the Google Map service to get the data. You can then grab your place. So we live in Nice in the French Riviera, but here the conference is around. We can add new place. JS.everywhere. Save that. So one of the issues with Google Maps, that's why we want to change it to go to leaflet. There is some issue, first of all, with resize when you add markers, and also for mobile application, Google Maps is not that great. Leaflet offers some kind of offline caching when you lose the connection. So all the maps which are already downloaded will be available. Whereas Google Maps, when you lose the connection, you really are screwed. You can't move the map anymore. I think they're working on new version. It's also Leaflet is more an open source project, so and Google has some restriction with this API keys that you need to download for your application. There is some restriction around it. So we want to move to Leaflet.
Okay, Fabrice, can you show maybe how you can switch between list and map? You got the two options.
Aye.
Yeah, always the two options to switch, between. If you're in the map mode, you can double-click also to edit your tag. So it's a convenient way of editing this Paris place, for example. Yeah. All that is generated in a minute with the scaffolding. One thing to note also about scaffolding in Grails is that it's scaffold, and as the name is said, or it's just generating some code for you, but then it's up to you to modify the code and add all the things you want to do. It's a great learning tool. It's really give you the basic, but then you need to go, in the code and make it what you want it to be. Maybe we can.
So basically, also we handle relation. So if in your domain object you put some relation to the place here, and
it's actually a good example to show a one-to-one relation with a place. So check-in has one place, and check-in, and when you check into a place, you want to meet several friends. So I went here with this friend and at that place. So that's what we're going to demo, how we scaffold the relation.
So once it's scaffold, basically, in the check-in bootstrap JavaScript file, what we have done is to push inside all our domain classes the name of the class, the views themselves, so which kind of event you want to listen to, and the relation, so has one relation here with the place, one-to-many relation with your friend. So that will allow us to do the synchronization to put everything on the local storage and be able to have the sync manager work when we are online or offline.
Okay, let's have a look to the check-in view.
Check-in view.
I meant in the browser, actually.
It's a browser, okay. Sorry.
So we've got no check-in. We're going to add a check-in. So we had a check-in, for example, JS.everywhere conference. We pick a place. I don't know. We bootstrap a few places. Oh, JS.everywhere. It's already there. And a couple of friends. That's the only friends I entered. And we had.
So one thing is also is the fact that we want to be able to push this application on the cloud itself. So we have a great plugin to be able to push on Cloud Foundry this application we have just done. So just by
I think it's prod first. Prod CF push for Cloud Foundry push. Yeah.
Actually, so that will push the application to the cloud.
Let's see if the network is good enough to push to the cloud.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll be able to do it.
But otherwise, we've got a backup already pushed.
So when you have an correct internet connection, it works. So basically, it will ask you if you want to. Yeah. So basically, it asks you what will be the URL you accept. It asks for services. Because your domain object will be mapped into a database, it will be MySQL, Postgres. You can choose. Here we can leave it in memory.
Yeah, let's check the URL.
So the only thing is in your configuration also, you need just to change the URL of your application here before you push. Otherwise, all your Ajax call will go to localhost, which is not great on the cloud.
So here we're ready to push. Let's push again.
So, yeah.
Okay, never mind. It's already pushed on Cloud Foundry.
Here.
So we also have a single page index which will list all the different domain classes so far, so you can switch between the view. The connection is really slow. But otherwise, we can show it, on localhost.
So one thing also is the fact that we want to be able to package this application on PhoneGap. What we have done is we scaffold config XML directly here, where you put your we scaffold by default the name of the application. We also, you need for Google Maps to allow some of the cross domain to be true here. So we generate that by default. And what we have is we have also a PhoneGap plugin that allows you to package your mobile web app with PhoneGap build, send it to the Adobe
PhoneGap build factory.
So what you do is just type app init build. So basically, it will ask you to push your application to the build factory of PhoneGap. So same thing here, you need a better connection. So what will happen is, if you go to buildphonegap.com, you can send your application. You can also use directly your Git repository, where it will build all the different package for your application. So APK for Android, iPhone, iOS, mobile, Symbian, BlackBerry. And once it's done, basically what you can do is have all the application here, and you have a QR code here that you can use on your own mobile that will point to the cloud here.
So that's nice to have a feeling of how it's really displayed on your mobile.
So the thing is about the plugin itself, the next step in the plugin is to look at, because jQuery Mobile is well integrated with Backbone.js, So the goal will be to generate the backbone MVC instead of our own MVC. What else we have to do?
A lot of things actually. We're always looking for new musketeers to join the team. Switch to another map service, as you said earlier.
What else? We also put in place basically jQuery validation to be able to validate all the forms based on the constraint of your domain object that will replicate them directly. Date picker are really a problem for mobile. They have different look and feel, and it's really hard to find a date picker that will change the look and feel depending on which mobile application you are. So if you have some idea about date picker. Any question?
What about the conflicts?
Yeah, we get it.
Which conflicts?
Between the synchronization between the client and the server? How do you handle that?
One of the, we base everything on Rails, so what will happen, there is always a version associated to your domain object. So first one will win, and after that everything will be rejected, and you will have a nice error display that will tell you that someone did modify the a domain object before you.
As a first implementation.
Yeah, first implementation. We could try the merge. It's kind of dangerous, I think, the merge, especially automatic merge. What we could put in place is offering kind of a UI to be able to merge your data with your changes. But that's kind of complicated. There is some algorithm like the Google Doc mechanism to merge your data. It's quite interesting, in fact, the algorithm behind them.
Yeah. But all idea welcome, actually, because that's the thing we're looking at the moment.
Yeah, I have a question. You had shown jQuery Mobile as the framework.
Yes.
Is there any way to, have other frameworks there?
Yeah, we will offer another version with Twitter Bootstrap first. The idea is also to offer general single page views, so not only specific to mobile, but Twitter Bootstrap works quite well also with mobile. It's not that hard to do this part, so it will take a week or two for us to do that. So.
Other question? Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much.